This panel will run for a half hour, and then we'll be going on to a conversation with UNDP and innovation towards sustainable oriented healthcare. And I see we've got some of our panelists on board. So while we're waiting for Kenneth to take the stage and take over, why don't I ask you if you could introduce yourselves, please, and I'll begin with Radia.
My mic is on. Hello, everyone. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm very glad to be among you guys. So my name is Radia. I am an entrepreneur based in Casablanca, Morocco. What I do is I run an advisory firm in corporate sustainable responsibility. So basically my job is to help companies be more respectful of the society and the environment, and also to tackle the opportunities of sustainable development. I am also a member of the advisory board for the goalkeepers with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And I am very fond of this innovation, sustainable innovation subjects. I think that there are great opportunities, and I'm really looking forward to discussing this with you and the rest of the panelists.
Great. Well, thank you very much. And nice to have you joining us from Morocco, because that's one of the upsides of a virtual conference, how we can grab talent from around the world.
Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful to meet you. And Oliver, can you perhaps introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks for hosting, Walter. My name's Oliver Wayman. I'm co-founder of a British brand called Bottletop, so dialing in from London now. And we are a sustainable luxury lifestyle brand, really with a clear vision around social and environmental impact. The mission is really to empower artisans, protect the fragile resources of our planet, and engage the public in sustainability issues. So yeah, we actually have a store in K11 Musea in Hong Kong. So those of you who are local, please do come and visit and get a feel for the products. We've also just launched a big campaign last year called Together Band, which is all based around the Sustainable Development Goals and being able to engage the public around these complex issues. So yeah, that was launched last year, and we're well into the campaign now.
Well, thank you, Oliver. I will duck over to K11 and make sure to check out your store. So
please do.
And our third panelist, Heba, can you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, so my name is Heba. Thank you very much for inviting me here to be here today from Munich. So we're covering up quite some places here. Yeah, my background is mechanical engineering. I worked in different areas of engineering and innovation, and between the MENA region and Germany and London, trying to make sure that innovation breaks through to come closer to the people and be supportive for a better world. I'm here as the Chief Executive of Respond, an accelerator program by the BMW Foundation, which was launched in January this year in order to support innovations and technology for impact to scale up and help what you mentioned, Walter, in the beginning, that impact investing, technology for impact, get the support they need. And in the core of the BMW Foundation's mission, we talk about promoting responsible leadership and the role of leaders of the future to push towards a better future in line with the Sustainable Development Goals. And this is what we're trying to do with impact tech entrepreneurs and stakeholders.
Fantastic. Well, we've got a brilliant panel, and my apologies from Kenneth Kwok. He hasn't been able to join us yet, so I'm going to kick off with a little bit of a dialogue. And what I want to begin with, Radia, I want to ask you about, kind of the subject is the future of impact philanthropy, and where do we come from today, and what are the trends that you're seeing that are really driving the industry?
Thank you. That's a great question, and I'm going to answer it through an African perspective, as this is my area of involvement and the area that I know better. So, so far, we have seen, I'm going to say it this way, a very classical philanthropy. A philanthropy that resolves short-term issues. But by doing so, we have been finding solutions for symptoms and never for the causes. So for me, the future of impact investing is really to tackle the real issues, to empower people or to empower the communities the philanthropy is addressing. So it's more, for me, impact investing is going from a very classical perspective to creating some kind of shared value, a new kind of values. So for the African continent, which is, as you know, knowing kind of a growth, an important growth comparing to other continents or other countries in the world, it's really important to know to feel and to know the real issues, whether they are social or environmental. We cannot afford anymore to have wasted impact. So for me, the future of philanthropy is like we have to measure the impact of the investment and trying to see now philanthropy as an investment and see what are the true results. But to me, this goes by really knowing the background, the communities, the projects the philanthropy is addressing. And also the second point for me that will shape the future of philanthropy is collaboration. Of course, let's say, for example, we have some funds going from outside Africa, coming into Africa. You may want to have strong partnerships, strong relationships, whether they are private or public or civil, to make a true sustainable impact through this philanthropy action.
Okay, Radia, you brought up that impact philanthropy can't just resolve short-term problems, short-term symptoms, but really needs to get at the underlying problems. Oliver, you're co-founder of Bottletop. What were some of the underlying problems that you were trying to address with this startup?
So, yeah, good question. Firstly, I'd like to echo Radia's thoughts. I think we've also been in the philanthropy impact space for a long time, and it's you know, I think thankfully that the just general attitude around it is changing very quickly. You know, when we first started, we effectively had a foundation which is still linked into what we do today, and that just was really building around being able to create beautiful products in this case. So fashion accessories. Initially, we were making wireframe handbags in Uganda and Kileta, Kenya, which were then sort of finished in the UK and sold through, I think, an initial collaboration we did with Mulberry, which became the best selling bags for Mulberry that season. We later went into more looking, really getting involved hands-on in Brazil, in Salvador, Northeast Brazil, which is still where we have our main atelier today. And that's where the whole premise is really to support some of the most disadvantaged people in the community, often single mothers, and being able to train and upskill them to become artisans. And you know, I think what started as a fairly ambitious goal of being able to achieve a quality of product that would otherwise be quite difficult to attain in these environments, we've managed to do so. I mean, since collaborating with everyone from DKNY to Narcissa Rodriguez, we've managed to really create design-led, beautifully aesthetic products, but also have a core social mission. And I think it's really reassuring that I've seen a real step change, particularly in the last 2 to 3 years, in which there's a genuine appetite from consumers to be able to learn more about these products and learn the story and learn and really cherish the impact that they're having. Because not only does it become a great conversational piece when you're talking about the product that you've got, but also I think people want to do good. People want to still, I think we shouldn't be ashamed to be working within business environments, but still having positive social impact. And that's, you know, I think from when we first started over 15 years ago, the two were very much exclusive, right? You could only have, you could either do business or you could do charity, but no one was really connecting the dots. It was that you couldn't have one and then do the other. Whereas now, thankfully, there's a real step change. I think it's clearly we're able to prove that you can combine the two in a really coherent way, and people are embracing that. So that's been really encouraging to see.
Oliver, that's a great story. And what you do talk about then is kind of getting to the underlying problem of social awareness and shared values. I'm going to turn to Kenneth in a moment. He's actually joined us on stage and we're thrilled to see it. But I do have to round out my first round of questions to Heba. And Radia had brought up the question about philanthropy as an investment. And I'm kind of going to take a jump and assume that's kind of your job. So, you know, how do you look at this as an investment opportunity, and how does that guide your decisions?
I'm very thankful for Radia for mentioning it that way, because really stop talking about pure philanthropy. We just talk about impact investing and how you can contribute actually to even make impact investing become investing, and the only way to do investment to be impactful. This is also like linking to what Oliver said. We believe that it's so important to have to support the scaling up of technologies and innovations that are useful for the environment and for the society. In order to do that, you have to have both. You have to have a business model which is sustainable. You have to have a technology which is on a top level. You have to think of impact and sustainability and be able to measure sustainability and impact. And this is there's a great development now in terms of how you could measure and identify how impact could be a quantifiable, measurable criteria and KPI in order to prove that you're doing this and that, and both of them are pushing the results which are going to be solutions which are useful for society and environment forward. The idea of reacting, like I'm also Egyptian, and I totally agree with you, Radia, in terms of as long as you're dealing with the symptoms, as long as you see charity on dealing with the charity issue, you are wasting so much potential. And if you think right to the problem and start, like we identified entrepreneurs as so important because they are developing the technologies for the future. They are putting on solutions, and if they have the right mindset from the beginning and know that they have a responsibility towards the society and are the leaders of the future, because obviously a lot of innovations are leading a lot of development in society and environment. So if you start there and bring them together with the right people and the like-minded investors and the other investments who are hopefully are going to be also like-minded soon. So it's a job which needs all hands on, and this is where we're trying to go. We're talking about sustainable finance and impact investing, and the only way towards pushing that forward is to bring everyone on the table who was part of it and support those who are developing and are in the core of the issue, which is the entrepreneurs. And maybe closing up, Oliver, it's so amazing to see the stories of the entrepreneurs, and a lot of them do not know that they are actually so concerned about impact. Like everyone wants to do something good, so why not combine it and live a balanced life, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. And with that, Kenneth, I'm going to turn the panel back to you. Welcome to the stage.
Nice to be here, finally. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Hope everyone's having a wonderful day so far. Again, Startup Impact Summit main stage event focusing on social good. I love it. I mean, we are here because we are hopefully genuinely good people. But I think in this particular panel, given the caliber of the panelists, I have a very simple and straightforward next question. You have all worked with amazing next-gen leaders. I think majority of the audience here with us today at the Startup Impact Summit are the youth. They're here to get advice. They're here to listen to case studies, demos, actions of leaders such as yourselves who have dedicated your life empowering the next generation of leaders. On that note, I would love to have each of you take maybe 2 or 3 minutes and share a particularly memorable case study of someone that you have worked with and that, based on your advice, based on your team's wonderful mentorship, they have become a sustainable and impactful young leader. Radia, given your work with the goalkeepers, can we start with you?
Thank you, Kenneth, and hello, Kenneth. Thank you for the question. And indeed, when we work in the sustainable development, on sustainable development generally, it's true that we are facing amazing initiative, amazing people, amazing involvement, and amazing energies. And I'm used to say this is my everyday fuel. It's by meeting these people and looking at this initiative that I really get inspired on an everyday basis. But the project and the initiative I choose to talk about is an initiative that we launched in Morocco for one of our clients, and that involves a whole ecosystem in agriculture. And it's about producing and selling a potato. Yes, just a simple, very random potato. But this potato creates social impact at every stage of the production and the selling of this potato. So we took the value chain, and it's a social enterprise that we created actually for a multinational. And one of the main objectives was to hire youth within this company and to create new kind of values within the rural areas in our country. So right now, a young person in a rural area in Morocco just want to move and go to the city. But the rural areas are full of potentials. So we had to gather them within our company and train them and find also jobs for women, which are not always planned into this kind of projects, and make it through a potato, create sustainable impact throughout the value chain.
I mean, a simple thing as a potato can be extrapolated into such an amazing story. I mean, wow, that definitely changes my perception of what you can do in agriculture. There you go.
And this is just, we tried on a small scale because we like small scale projects, but with huge impact and with huge stories. And this also leads us, and that's maybe an advice to the community listening to us, it's think big, of course, think big, but experiment small so that even if something goes wrong, you can go back to where you were and fix it again and take it to the next level. And small actions, huge stories, huge impact.
Yep, I'll definitely remember that story. Oliver, how are you today, man? It's always love seeing you.
I'm great, thanks.
Come on, hit me up with a great story.
With a good story, yeah, well, absolutely.
All of us to be more impactful in the future.
I had to think, actually, firstly, it's great to have an audience of budding entrepreneurs. I find it so exciting that's effectively, they will be the future, and they are going to articulate how we're going to get to the sustainable roadmap that we need to get to. So my experience most recently, which I was really infused by working with young startups and just with the realization of an ambitious goal, but what's possible when great minds put their heads together, almost without the sort of levels of problems that you start to have sometimes with experience, because it can make you a little bit more risk averse. And so what we needed to do, we'd just taken on a lease for our main flagship store on Regent Street. And we needed to make we wanted to make a serious imprint in the sustainable way of being able to fit out the store, both in build and materials used. And we were like, how can we continue to break boundaries? What can we do which hasn't been done before that will really help people to understand what can be done from a sustainability standpoint. And through talking to one startup near me who'd really not done any projects on this size before, they were specialists in robotic 3D printing. So this is industrial scale 3D printing using effectively car robots, which have been hacked and then will print out various different materials to make new interiors. And I partnered them with an amazing startup based in Amsterdam, who are working with collecting huge amounts of recycled plastic everywhere from Dar es Salaam to New Delhi, and reworking this plastic into pellets, which could then be melted down into this filament. And in joining the two together, we started 3D printing waste plastic interiors for the first time ever. And it was a huge problem. I mean, there was so many challenges that you come across from the consistency of the material changing to failed prints and whatever else. But thankfully, because of the tenacity, the ambition of these two partners coming together, and me just waving a flag and saying that yes, keep doing what you're doing, we created the first 3D printed store in the world, made from waste plastic. And in this relatively small environment of 30 square meters, we ended up using the equivalent of 60,000 plastic bottles, all just repurposed to create this beautiful futuristic store, which has won various awards since. And that, for me, shows what's possible when you really embrace the energy, youth, and dynamism of the future entrepreneurs who are coming through.
You guys are leaving me speechless with these stories. Well, Radia just said, waste is wealth. I absolutely buy that, especially with what is going on in this world these days. If we can take every single thing we wasted and turn it in a circular economic way to benefit the world, that itself is a great ecosystem. Yeah. So again, Oliver, my challenge to you is Web 51. The next time we do an event at Davos again, that whole pavilion is going to be made with recycled waste plastic.
That's a deal. It's on.
Deal. Done. All right. Hi, Heba. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
So, again, amazing things you do with Respond within the BMW Foundation. What is the exciting story we're going to hear from you now?
It's very difficult right now to choose one story. So because we just had the sprint, the first sprint of Respond 2 weeks ago, and there are like 10 amazing stories. So I'll tackle it from a different way, which is the systemic change perspective, because everyone is talking always about systemic change and the transformation, but no one knows his exact role in terms of achieving that. So for example, going back to the plastic example, there is Gotback, one of the startups, which is creating yarns out of ocean plastic, which they collect and then produce bags 100% from ocean plastic. And taking that example as something contributing to the circular economy, systemic change perspective, there is a startup also in our batch doing something completely different with plastic, which is Brickify in Nigeria, which is building bricks and houses, solving the housing issue in Nigeria by having cooperations with Coca-Cola and different plastic bottle distributors, in order to build houses and engage people to be building and solving the housing issue, for example. So these are like two ways and more to tackle one and the same problem, but the different ways to tackle them globally is so well to be seen in these examples. There is Bozak, which is a startup run by Jacob, who is the founder there, and he was working on a water purification unit in the Atlantic, and then he decided to start selling water as the core of his business all over the world, and cooperating with governments, purified water, not in order just to sell water, to make it accessible for people who wouldn't be able to access it otherwise. So these are just a couple of examples on how people can get inspired through complex or difficult situations they've been working and active in. And then they tackle it with the way where they see who is around me, how can I tackle the problem with my knowledge, and this is maybe my advice here, to really reflect on the strengths of each entrepreneur, each startup's teams, and capitalize on that. And there will be a lot of ways to be impactful and producing or doing a strong business at the same time. So maybe it's a little bit of a long story, but I'm trying to maybe show different examples and give more hope for change.
And we definitely would love to share that, you know, beautiful piece from Respond to everyone here at the Startup Me Up Hong Kong Festival and the Startup Impact Summit. 5 minutes to go, people. I'm actually excited because this is a great panel, but it's so sad to wrap this up. So how about this? Quick rapid fire. One last advice for a lot of young startups who've heard your stories that you have just kindly shared with us and say, I want to join this initiative. I'm sure they do, right? They hear these amazing stories from potato, I mean, you know, to recycle plastics from the ocean, to making yarn. I mean, what advice would you give to help these youngsters? I call them youngsters because, you know, we're all students at heart. Radia, start with you, please.
It's an advice that I give also to myself on an everyday basis is we are trying to find solutions to sustainable development issues. And these, we will not find the solutions within the last way we used to think. Sustainable development calls for a new mindset. And for me, one of the biggest quality to be a change maker is to keep on being curious. People find ideas around sustainable development every day. We just saw it with Oliver and Heba as well. And it keeps on changing and it keeps on being more precise, more impactful. So keep on being curious and adopt the mindset of a change, of a sustainable development change maker. That's my advice.
Change maker, goalkeeper. Got it. Oliver?
I would just say, be prepared. It will be a bumpy road. You're going to have highs and you're going to have lows, and just accept that. You know, that is what being an entrepreneur is about in a way. And so accept that there will be challenges. But I think that's a great point from Radia. Continue to be curious. Continue to look for problems and what you can do to provide a solution. Sometimes it can be the most abstract, you know, out the box thinking ideas, but they can sometimes be the solutions that are needed. So believe in yourself, be prepared for challenges, and seek advice. You know, there are plenty of people now in this space who can help and can point you in the right direction, because everyone will have their own strengths and weaknesses, whether it's more on creative or more on finance or whatever it is. But make sure that you can achieve that balance to help you to then take that next step, because there's plenty of great advice out there and people willing to support.
Great. Heba, final words?
There's a great need for good leaders, and it's so important to develop not only your startup and vision, but work on your own self and define how you want to be as a person. And this is a very important issue for you with your team, for you with yourself. You need to be sustainable yourself. You can make yourself so tired that you cannot continue your vision. So it's very important, and it's a key also to cooperate and find the right partners, accomplishing and working together with you on achieving those impactful goals. So reflect on yourself and find the right partners.
Thank you. And leave everyone with very simple startup passion. Let's go with that. Thank you so much, everyone. Radia, Oliver.
Thank you.
Heba, thank you so much for this.
Thank you.
Walter, back to you.
Great. Well, thank you very much for a phenomenal panel. I do have to give a shout out to a member of our audience, Palace Wong. He or she is looking for a role, and they're looking for opportunities. So if you're in Morocco or London or Munich, I'll let Palace know to look you up. But thank you very much. That set the tone for other conversations we're going to be having later this evening. We're now going to take a half-hour break. and go have some dinner. And then we'll be back at 7:30 p.m. where we're engaging with the UNDP, innovation towards a sustainable health-oriented future. Again, my personal thanks to the panelists and to a great conversation. And we look forward to seeing you in about 28 minutes. So see you in a few.